Yo, man, that's what matters. You know, it doesn't have to be hard. All right, so we are live today. We have somebody with the stage name called Jaleel, and he's going to talk about all of his personal problems. I've told him to put his camera off so he can feel relaxed and say whatever he needs to. Um, Jaleel, go for it. Tell me all your problems. Let's see what we can do about it. I love this stuff. Go for
O-
it.
Okay, so I think we were speaking about my marriage issues, but first and foremost, we can get to that a bit later. So first and foremost, I think what's going on with me right now is that I'm feeling a bit unfulfilled in my work.
Hmm.
Um, I think it's I think that has to do with the fact that I'm not married at the moment. Maybe that's part of the problem.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just I'm just not feeling satisfied with it
Cool.
anymore.
So loads of people hate their jobs. That's normal. Okay. I'm not saying that's good, but what I'm saying is you have to try to be abnormal to solve this problem. I was talking to a really rich guy, was it yesterday? Day before yesterday? He could do anything he wants and he still hates his job. Um he's not doing he's such a privileged position. Really nice guy as well. Really nice guy. So here in Jordan, and still he doesn't feel like he's living a life of passion and stuff like that, and that's normal. And so, how do you get to a place where you're living a life full of passion and doing things you want to do every day? Uh, in short, people deserve what they get. So maybe that sounds really harsh, but you know I'm like that, and I don't mean anything badly by it, right? What do I mean by people deserve what they get? There's some sort of poetic, what's it called? Poetic justice. That's the word, right? So every
Yeah,
time
yeah,
I've
that's the
seen
word.
some, yeah, thank you. So every time I've seen somebody obsessed with money, they get money and they don't get anything else. Anybody who is worried about their work, they get more worries about their work. So I talk to a lot of people. Actually, do I talk to a lot of people? I talk to a bunch of people, right, about their lives all the time, regularly. Um, it's just as my natural thing. I'm interested in that, and people tell me about that. But let's think about it. Let's explain it logically. Why does that happen? And how can you get out of it? So why does it happen? Would be I don't want to talk too much. I want to get lots of feedback, and you can tell me how I'm wrong and all this kind of stuff as well, right? One major problem is people don't think about what they're doing. Like they don't think about their lives, so what they do is pretty random and it's not very deep. So they look at the shallow end of it. Let's say you want to become a banker or something. You go, all I care about is making lots of money. That's a lot of people, right? And then they ended up doing really boring things their whole lives, and their lives are not exciting. Um, that's one thing. And the other thing, before I talk too much, is if you want a life of passion, you have to have purpose because people don't understand this, especially in the West, that they think you can be passionate about anything. Like, oh, I'm going to be passionate about surfing and stuff like that. But there isn't much purpose behind surfing. So you might look on the surface and people go, oh, these people love their lives, whatever, like these Olympic swimmers or whatever. If you look at people who are at the top of their game, after they, even doing it, like there's a Michael Phelps who got the most gold medals in swimming and stuff like, you might think they're really passionate, but they're not. They're really depressed doing stupid stuff because it doesn't make any sense just swimming loads or surfing loads. You have to do something more meaningful. So I'm trying to keep it short so I'm not talking too much, but passion comes from purpose. If you're living a random selfish life, which is most people, you will get exactly what you deserve. You'd be doing a pointless job, which makes some money, and there'll be all sorts of other problems with it because you told me about all sorts of other problems. Like, I don't know if you call it bullying or which is common in Western companies anyway, because people are not moral. Actually, most companies everywhere Yeah, so I've stopped talking there. Tell me some, give me some feedback. Am I going the wrong direction? Tell me some more.
No, I definitely agree with what you're saying. But what I wanted to ask from my perspective is that the job that I'm doing now is that it actually took a long time for me to get into this position, and it's something that I've wanted to do since I finished my studies. It's actually the job I'm in now is related to my field of study, and in between that time, I wasn't doing that because, like I said, it was quite competitive to get into.
Fantastic.
Um, like I said, it's there are enjoyable aspects to the job, but it's like you said, what I said to you before. Maybe it is the culture of the people around me. Maybe it's just what's going on in my personal life. Yeah, it's just that's I don't know why it's not satisfying me.
Cool. So the next thing is that you can make your current, because I don't like to say you should be doing something a million miles away. I want you to be happy right now and as possible, right? So two things. First of all, you can make your job more enjoyable the more you focus on the reason you're doing it. So I remember there was a person, a friend of mine, who worked at a hardware store, and he had anxiety just going back into his job, and he hated talking to the customers, etc., etc. Right? This is normal. People start feeling when the more you become self-involved, the more everything. Even this rich guy I was talking to 2 days ago, wherever it was, he has the same problems. Everybody's got these same problems. People think all their problems are different, but they're actually the same, roughly. The more self-involved you get, the more problems you have. Okay, so let me just get to it. If you really want to enjoy your job, all you have to do is think about what is the benefit you're providing to the world, and then suddenly you become more strong. Like all the little things will cause you less problems. Can you tell me? Let's do this together. Let's work through this together. Tell me what benefit your job provides to the world. I'm sure it does. I'm sure it provides some benefit.
Helping patients, so giving patients medical diagnosis.
Okay, cool. Um, Tell me more. Big it up. Big up your job, everyone, because you're going to use this for yourself to help yourself get through the day.
Okay, so basically we receive blood samples, any type of samples from patients,
So don't tell
and
me
we
the
process.
practicalities of it. That's boring. It's the why. So this is. I'll send you a video. Maybe I'll just tell you if in case I'd get too lazy to send the video. Right. Um, Simon Sinek did an extremely important TED talk. You know what a TED talk is?
Yeah,
Okay. It's either called Start with Why, or I can try to find it, but Simon Sinek, Start with Why. Just search a TED Talk, why the greatest people don't care about the how and the what. These are the details. They're like, why are we doing it? And then everything else is how you do it. Doesn't really matter, right? Think of something that the example he gave in his TED Talk was um, Apple. They have a why. They want to do something that changes the status quo, something great, and then they do all these different, completely different kinds of products. You know, at the time, they were remarkable that they did so many different kinds of products. I don't want to get into too many details. Okay, so the point is, you really have to. The details of how is not important. Why is incredibly important. We as human beings are built as souls first. I'm going to bring it back to the spirituality thing. And the souls care about why we're doing it. And the only thing that really matters is like, are we on our way to God? Right. But it's not obviously
yeah.
clear how everything can be on its way to God. But basically, the why you're looking for is a service to humanity, to making the world a better place. So can you point about that? Don't tell me boring facts about you did this with the blood, blah, blah, blah. Nobody cares. You don't care really. You care about the why. Tell me something about the why you do this. And if it's a struggle, that's okay, because you most people don't think about it deeply enough, right? But let me help you explain it a bit more. Nietzsche said, That if you've got a why, you can get through any how. Okay, this is a psychologist. Uh, most people understand. Let's say most psychologists will say the same thing. These are fundamentals of how the human mind works. That's why Simon Sinek's talk was so popular. One of the greatest TED talks there are. Um, because it resonated with so many people. They understood really deep down that's what we want to go. We are spiritual first. The why is the inner circle that he called them the golden circles. So go on. Sorry, I keep interrupting, but maybe it gives you more motivation to work hard and finding out why is it that you do your job. It might not be the original reason you bit, but now let's make it a reason for doing your job.
Yeah, so basically, from what I understand, the reason my job has so much importance is that I know I'm making a difference to patients' lives. That's simple as.
Okay, so people would die or suffer if they didn't know what was really happening to their bodies, because your little test analysis of their blood or whatever it is going to tell them earlier what disease they have so that they can cure it faster, earlier, an earlier stage before it gets too bad. Is that kind of right?
Yes, correct.
Fantastic. So focus on the the lives you're changing. Okay, then the stronger your why. See, your mind doesn't have a million things. It only has a few things that it can handle, right? So if it's at the center of your mind while you're working, while all the other annoying people are trying to ruin your day, right? You've got this big thing in your head, which is there's that patient, Dave, right? And Dave, you're going to save Dave from dying a miserable, death from cancer. Possibly. You can't control anything, but possibly you might do that. And that could help you get through the day. I mean, that's a night. This is how we should all work, and then we all do brilliantly in our jobs. Okay, and this is, by the way, that's a way of getting further in your job. No, sorry, not even basically being brilliant at your jobs will create loads more possibilities. Okay, the average person doesn't really get anywhere because they don't even know where they're going, sort of thing, right? They've got no passion. Imagine a passionless person. That could be you right now, anyway, right? Or anybody, right? Do you think they're going to go as far as a person with loads of passion for their job?
No,
Right? So you by creating a why, or not even creating a why, focusing on a why, okay, you're gonna either do better in your job and excel and go upwards, or you go sideways into different jobs. Okay, it might be the environment. You've reached the limit of what you can do in this particular company that you're in. Okay, but with more passion, you know what, you're going to be passionate, you can be talking to different people about it, your job, possibly, who knows, right? And then people go, I mean, this happens to me, I suppose, right? Because I'm a teacher, I talk about it as an aside, I talk about different things, right? And then different jobs come up. So the point is, yeah, so that's one thing, that the why can get you through the day, and the why will get you better at your job, so you move upwards. So there's a verse of the Holy Quran that says, paraphrasing, always paraphrasing, I can never say exactly word for word, but every moment for believers, essentially, every moment is better than the last, or every hour is better than the last. Okay, so if you're living a life full of good values of, you know working to high standards, inevitably your life is going to get better. Not necessarily just through your job, and necessarily through your money. Your money might even go down at times and go back up again, right? But your internal world, how you see the world, how you experience the world, is going to be much better. I don't know if that makes any sense. Like, I'll give you a quick example. Like, I mean, example of something that looks bad on the surface, but it worked out better off in the long term, right? So I get in a lot of trouble. I try to avoid normal jobs now because I struggle working for people, right? More like a self-employed type. Not that everybody should do that. Everybody's different. But one of the jobs I remember, I publicly announced that I was getting fired to all the students, and the administration got pretty annoyed about that. But anyway, so all the students knew I was leaving the company, right, the school. Okay. um and people were shocked. It was anyway. I don't want to get into the drama of it, but it's quite funny. But all my students loved me and all that kind of stuff. And then they were saying, "Why are you smiling?" So, and I was like surprised at the question. But kids ask good questions, and I was like, because I just did the right thing. Because I left the job essentially because they were trying to make me do stupid things that wasn't good for the wasn't good for the school. And so when you do things for the right things, you know what? I haven't brought God into it. When you do things for the right thing, for the right reasons, God help you see God's help more and more. Now, if you're not seeing God's help more and more at the moment, that's something to work on, because God is not dead. God promises in the Quran that if you're a servant of God, and I could maybe, if you really want me to get quotes and stuff, but I don't know if you've heard this one. It says, when my servant asked you about me, have you heard this one? And says, tell him I answer the prayer and guides him and helps. Do you know that one?
That sounds familiar.
Yeah, and there's a hadith that all the sayings of Prophet Muhammad are backing up teachings
So
on the Quran. Sallallahu alaihi wasallam, peace be upon him. So the sayings of Prophet Muhammad, so for example, is if you take one step towards Allah, Allah takes 10 steps towards you. You ever heard that one?
yeah,
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 and
I've
then
heard that.
cool, and then the more you progress, it comes to a stage when um, uh, it goes something like, um, when you hit, it's God who's hitting on your behalf, and things like this, right? So basically, you will see God taking over your life, and you just stop worrying. It's like, okay, this is where God wants me to be, but it's not where God wants. Although everything is in God's control, God helps people who are his servants. I'm going to go back to the main thing. Okay. What is a servant? Somebody who listens to God. So I'm coming at this with different angles, but they're all very important, right? They're the
Yeah,
things that changed my life, right? So have a why that will get you through the day. That's in like an immediate solution. Okay. And then a medium term solution is that it will start making you better at it, right? And then the longer term solution is when you do things for the right reason, and you're even outside just a job, you're just being a better human being, and you're praying and asking God for your help, because you will see God in your life a lot more. I don't know. Maybe you already. I don't want to be presumptuous, but um, you'll find that you'll have no real problems from your perspective. From the outsider's perspective, somebody might look at my life and go, "Oh my God, you got a million problems, right?" But but not from. But you care about your perspective. Don't worry about other people's perspective. So, okay, give me some feedback.
so
Were you understanding? Go on, ask me a question. Yeah,
yeah, so I've actually got two different perspectives on this. So I'll give you the first one with the job I'm currently at right now.
yeah,
I think the problem is that when I started, I was doing quite well, but I think the problem is that because the job itself, how would you say, everybody really does their own thing. So like, yes, there are like rules about how to do the job, but everybody does it their own way, and I think that's really confusing me. Because then when I'm doing it how someone is telling me how I was told, then someone tells me something else. And then I think what also happened with me is that I feel that I'm doing the job okay, but then I
yeah.
got told that you're not asking enough questions, and then I got
Okay.
told that now you're asking too many questions, and then I got told that what's it called? We're not here to tell you how to do your job. And
Mm.
then later I got told, then I got told, I'm not doing the job right. So I was basically getting told how to do the job.
Yeah, I know
So
what you
I'm just
mean. Yeah, it's
get
very
it's very
frustrating, and
conflicting.
yeah, it's
Yeah,
scary as well, isn't it? You feel like you're going to lose your job. Is that one of the feelings?
yeah, that's correct. So you can respond to that, and then I'll go into my second part.
Hmm. So this is a common problem. Is it? So you're kind of surrounded by idiots. That's normal, right? Um, because it should be clear what the job is, right? Like this is how you do it, and people are telling conflicting things. Um, I talked to somebody who's had that problem for a long time. Actually, his he blames himself all the time though. But yeah, okay. So you have to accept that in every situation, people are crazy. I find solace in the verse of the Holy Quran that teaches this thing. If you follow the majority, be led away from the way of Allah. Okay, then that might not sound immediately relating to what you're saying, but let's think about this. The majority of people, if you follow them, you'll be going the wrong way. Okay, what does that tell you about people? And what it tells you, basically, people are stupid. And when if you come that don't come at it from a negative point of view, but see as a useful piece of information that most people will do the wrong thing, tell you the wrong thing, do dumb stuff. This is the reality of the situation. Okay, so once you accept that, you'd be saying, well, I'm still worried about my job. Okay, I'm surrounded by idiots. They're telling me the wrong things. This is normal, by the way. Okay. Um, it could be just politics as well. I don't know if it's politics or whatever. Somebody to wind you up because they haven't got anything better to do. And by the way, statistically, I think it's 25% of people actively try to destroy the companies they're in. Okay, and that might sound a bit weird, but actually, people, if you really hate your job and you don't really know what you're doing and you don't think you've got anything better to do, it's kind of like self-harming. Why do people self-harm? It's the same reason why people destroy the companies they're in, and that's a normal experience for me from what I've seen in schools. Um, so you accept the craziness of people, but then the worry becomes, oh no, I'm going to lose my job because I have to deal with the craziness. I've, you know, um, and the more you can become dependent on God, the more careless and free you become. So, but that's a bit of a. I'm trying to give like short-term solutions. So there is a short-term and a long-term solution. So the short-term. So what you do, a bit like literally, I just gave an example where I was literally losing my job the next day, right? And because I thought I was doing the right thing, and they threatened me, and I said thanks for the threat, right? Um, and they followed through with the threat and all that kind of stuff, right? But I wasn't worried, right? Like okay, let me put it this way so you can feel better. Like, if you lose your job, are you gonna die?
No.
I'm not sure if this helps, right? But okay, um these are kind of things that are useful to me, right? uh And where do I come up with these ideas? Okay, I'm gonna throw in a couple of ideas. Maybe it's not 100% organized because when I say something to you and I'm thinking, okay, I need to explain that bit better. There's a verse of the Holy Quran that says, "For those who fear God, they will have two gardens." And gardens in metaphorical Quranic terminology is paradise. And I'm going to explain this a little bit more because this kind of solves everything in your life automatically in one go, if you can really practice it. Okay, so no, it says those who fear meeting or the judgment of God. Let me quickly. I'm going to try to super explain it super fast. It goes something like this: if you fear God, then you fear nothing. Is the really short version. Okay, if you're thinking God is watching me, um, then everybody else and everything else becomes insignificant because everybody else and everything else is insignificant compared to God, and God is all powerful and God does everything. God can sort everything out. What we really fear, I'll tell you what we fear. We don't really fear die. I mean, you're not going to die, right? But what do we really fear? Number one, the thing that, or maybe number one and number two are roughly the same level. Number one is we fear other people's judgment. So if you fear God's judgment, you don't care about other people's judgment. I don't know if that makes sense, but if you think
Yeah,
about
yeah, it does.
it makes sense, right? And the other
Yeah,
thing is we're not going to get stuff we think we need to be happy. Okay. So like I need this job to get married, to get the house, to get the endless things, right? If you think that way, you're going to be miserable all the time because you're going to always have your happiness lying somewhere in the distance. Does that make any sense? I need this job to get married, to get I'm saying get married, okay? God sorted me out when I didn't even have a job, by the way, right? And then as soon as my wife said yes, I mean, maybe these stories don't necessarily help, but like the more you depend on God, the more you realize the more amazing things will happen. But that's a thing to test out, to practice. And maybe you've had some experiences. I bet you've had some experiences, and you can build on those experiences of God. But let me try to wind up this idea. So when you fear God, you will have paradise in this life and the next. What do I mean by that? Because what will happen is, first of all, you stop fearing anything, because you only fear God. Like I was kind of saying, like there's only a certain number of thoughts you can have in your head. Like you can't have multiple streams of thoughts in your head at the same time. Not really. You heard of multitasking. Multitasking doesn't exist. Did
yes,
you know
yes,
that?
yeah.
Right? You only think of one
Oh,
and
oh
the
no,
other. Oh yeah,
I
it's
didn't know
a
that.
it's outdated term. People realize it doesn't exist. But what happens is if you're trying to do two tasks in one go, except for like breathing. There's I don't know. You're probably more medical than me. There are some things that your brain doesn't actively engage in. That's a different category. But if you're multitasking, what you're doing is you're thinking about one thing, and then you have to. There's an overhead, they call it, I suppose, of transferring from one thought to the other and then coming back. You're not multitasking. There's no such thing. You're only thinking of one thing at a time. So if your main concern is God, then everything else pales into insignificance. But also, you start making really good choices that actually matter, not stupid choices like, okay, I'm going to become rich so I can buy an expensive car. And then all you're doing is wasting your time on doing stuff that doesn't actually make you happy, right? So you just start making incredibly good choices that really make you happy because you've got the sort of high level experience of, okay, I'm going to meet God at the end of this. I'm going to do all the stuff that really matters rather than get distracted on all the ridiculous material stuff that everybody wastes their time. They become slave to money until they die. I'm quoting a really good. Have you heard of the verb?
I haven't heard
Pop
of the
group.
verb, but that saying that you just said, people become a slave to their money until they die. That sounds familiar as well.
That's
I've
that's quite
heard like,
common, isn't it?
yeah, I've heard that.
Yeah, the verb VERVE. So I'll just put that in the comments anyway. So VERVE. Anyway, the verb. Okay, so um yeah, you make better choices. So you can basically have happiness in this life. People think that religion is about making this life miserable so you're happy in the next. It's completely wrong. Okay, the Quran talks about how to find happiness in this life, and that's a reflection of what you get in the next. I don't know if you've ever heard of things like when the people go to paradise, they say we had fruits similar to these in this life. Have you ever heard of similar verses like that? So
Yes.
basically, anybody who's gone to heaven goes to heaven. They'll say, "Oh, we felt something very similar, but obviously of a lower grade in life on Earth." Okay, and there are many similar things like that. Okay, so there's something called, anyway. I won't go into too many details, but um, your yeah. So yeah, let me try to stop there. So if you have fear of God and you worry about that as your north star, the main thing you focus on, everything else will pale into insignificance. You'll make better choices. You'll be constantly happy, and you will affect yourself in a positive way that you'll realize you'll well, yeah, inshallah have paradise in the next life. But that's we're talking about this life right now. I don't know how that helped or what parts of that helped, but just keep asking me questions, or if you understood some of any of that.
Yeah, no, I think, and I watched some of your videos like the that you put out many years ago. That's that what you said, when you have the fear of God in you, you don't fear anybody else. I think that's always stuck with me, but I think I've had a hard time implementing it.
Hmm. Let's see, how do we implement it step by step, one step at a time? So you take one step towards God, you'll find God will take 10 steps towards you. So, what does that mean practically? It means what you're going to do is you go to your job like as usual, but you just start thinking, what am I going to do one thing better today that I never did before? Just one thing better today. Maybe you smile at people more. There's a hadith that says smiling is charity. For example, God wants you to serve other people. Maybe you pray a bit more as well. Just one extra, just praying for somebody else. Make these things a regular habit, and you'll start finding loads of other good things happening. Why would that practically happen? So I'm trying not to make it faith based, right? If you start smiling at people, you're smiling at people to be kind to them, people like you more. Guess what? You'll probably get along at work better somehow, right? Okay, says the person who got himself fired. But they threatened me, and I didn't want to follow their rules anyway, so that was my fault anyway. But everybody loved me, right? Okay. Most people love me except for the top administration, who I ignored. But that's always my fault. So yeah. So every Islamic teaching you do, there's a spiritual element and there's a practical element. Like the spiritual element is that your soul is feeling good because you're smiling at people, trying to make people happy and stuff like that. And there's a practical element. You just become more successful. Guess who the most successful person ever to live was? Do you remember? Like according to secular people, have you heard this one?
No, I haven't.
Prophet Muhammad. On the list of top 100 people, Prophet Muhammad came out as the most successful person ever to
So,
live. Sallallahu peace be upon him. So, right, it works practically, yeah, and it works spiritually. Um, so if you want to become fearless, oh, here's the thing: if you think about all the most fearless people, like people who are like they're usually basically entrepreneurs or whatever, right? Think of somebody. Can you think of somebody who done something great, like in history or even now? Anybody that comes to mind?
yeah, Elon Musk.
Elon Musk, right? He has sacrificed everything. Like I'm not worshiping him, right? But he's done. He's like sacrificed uh, his house, all his money, whatever. Like he put it all on the line. I don't know if you follow him, but I'm like a fan of like studying entrepreneurs, right? He at one point he was going to lose all the millions that he had, right? Because he's got a why. When you've got a why, you're doing something. Everybody who's got a why becomes incredibly a million times more powerful than the average person. The average person is wandering blindly. Does that make sense? People just they're just buying stuff. Whatever the adverts tell them to do, they go and do it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, no, I understand completely
So
what you're
if you
saying.
so you're gonna be like just becoming a million times more powerful than the average person. That's pretty good start, right? So you go like, I just need
Yeah.
a why. Why am I doing this? Try it. You'll become more fearless automatically. And then when you think about God more, you become even more fearless. You see how useless everybody is. And the more you experience God, and this I think is very important to have more and more experiences of God, and you have more experiences of God taking care of everything. Like my normal thing is, if I'll try to explain it. It's something like if 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 it's I try not to take on jobs. I can take on as many jobs as I want. I'm a private tutor, and but if somebody sends me the job, like so they email me and say, "You please take this job," then I take it, sort of thing. And it's like, and the reason why I don't want to do too many jobs because it's like I'm willing to sacrifice money to be able to do things like this and loads of other stuff, right? Um, so my point is that what was that? My point was that God just like every time I'm too tired or something, God just like says, "You don't have to do this job. You don't have to do that," and the money will come in different ways. I've had ridiculous things happen to me, like even the tax people paying me. Like this, it hasn't. I think it's happened more than once, right? And I don't even know like when did I overpay any tax or anything. So um, can I ask a question at the end, not related to today's topic? Why don't you ask a question now, and maybe we can fit it into it? Possibly, you never know. It might be related somehow, Mahmoud. But yeah, go for it. And if it's not, maybe we'll do another. Just ask it now, and maybe I'll do another live stream about your topic. Yeah, that'll be cool. I'm always looking for interesting topics that people want to know about. Anyway, so yeah, so it's very important to experience God. I think that's probably the most important thing for me. And it didn't happen in one go. Uh, okay, cool, no problem, Mahmoud. Okay, so yeah, he's a he's a friend of mine, Bashir Ahmadi, facts checker, whatever you call it. Anyway, so I'm just talking to the live chat guy for a minute there, Manib, if you're wondering what's going on. So, yeah, definitely the more you experience of God, but these things don't just happen. So, God, there's another hadith which is really powerful, again, in two different ways, right? The spiritual and the physical. Okay, and I'll tell some a story. Have you ever heard of like the 1% better everyday method? I can't remember what the proper word, but it's usually it comes under the title of 1% better. You probably haven't, but okay, I'll just tell you, right? So, okay, I'll start with the hadith very quickly. The hadith goes like Allah likes people who do. I'm paraphrasing again, but Allah likes people who do things small and but are regular. Okay, and that sounds really boring, but actually, that's kind of like the mark of civilization that we don't just get in a mood one day and then we go to work. We go to work every day, right? Because that's how systems are developed long term. Does that or a shop. You don't open a
Yeah,
shop once a day when you feel like it. Yeah, otherwise your shop is useless. You're providing a service that's there every day that people can rely on. You're providing a service in your job that everybody can rely on. Okay. So in the same way, um, if you if you keep so you're kind of feeling like maybe I'm not sure if this is right, but you're kind of feeling like, oh, I wish God would just sort my problems out right now. And he will to some extent,
correct.
right? Right? Good. That I've understood you correctly, right? But things happen over a long period of time. But it's not that you won't get any results at all during that journey where God completely takes over your life, right? Because that's what God has promised. Okay, maybe I can pick up that hadith in a minute or search for it. But it's the one that says you take one step, God takes 10 steps towards you, and it keeps going on until God is basically taking over everything for you. Okay, but it takes a little bit of time. You know, you take one step, God take 10 steps towards you. But you have to be consistent, and you have to be boringly consistent. Is boringly consistent the better word for it is called habit. All successful people don't depend on uh, willpower. They don't depend on willpower, they depend on habits. Willpower is you'd muster up the emotions and all this kind of stuff to be able to do something. Like, but habit is you're going to do this every day, not even going to think about it, and make it really small. For example, I'm writing a book about the Holy Prophet, right? Kids version, something.
So,
It's got to it's got to be the first thing I do in the day, and it gives meaning to my day, right? And I'll just do it for 5 minutes, and then I'll do the next thing for 5 minutes, the next thing for 5 minutes, whatever, right? Okay. So what am I getting at is that you keep doing something good every day, it will amount to something huge. There's a spiritual element of God, how God wants you to become successful. Do things, small things every day. And the practical element is I'll quickly tell you a really quick story and then let you talk again. Um there was the British cycling team and they hadn't won any competitions for about 100 years. Okay. And then this coach turns up and he says, you know, what I'm going to do is I'm going to improve 1% better every day. So one of the things was we're going to get a softer, what's it called, cushion, because they're already always on tour and stuff like that. Another thing was they're going to wear the outdoor kit indoors or something like that. I can't remember. One of them was lighter or something, and they kept on improving things 1% better. And now they're like the best cycling, or they were at one point. After a few years, they won pretty much all the gold medals. I don't know if you remember this. Like happened about 10 years ago or something. They won all the gold medals in the Olympics within a few years, right? And if you think about it, things do build up. They do accumulate, right? So there's a spiritual element that God teaches you: be regular and consistent, and do small things every day, right? And then you
Hmm.
get physical results. But most people don't do that because they want results today and then they never get the result. But if you say, I'm going to keep doing it every single day, and I'm doing it, and it's more powerful if you do it because God told you to do it. So, God, I'm doing this because you're watching me, and you have that's a good habit, to be aware of God. God, you're watching me. I'm doing this every day because of you. And the stuff that I'm doing, I can show off to nobody about because it's so small. Does that make any sense? I don't know if it
Yeah,
makes sense. People try too hard to show off to other people. Do such small things every day that you can't show off to anybody. So it's 100% for God, and you just feel really strong because you're doing it for the right reason. You know, people who are brittle now, people who are really brittle in the West, like, oh, somebody looked at me the wrong way, whatever, because they are empty inside. If you're if you live a life of purpose for reasons higher than yourself and for God and so, really nothing will, you become invincible compared to everybody. You look at everybody and you go, why is everybody so weak? So right now you're in a weak position, isn't it? Would you agree? It's like, oh, I feel like I feel like anybody can destroy me right now. Do you know what I mean? You
yeah,
you can get out of that. So I did a lot of talking. Can you tell me one thing you understood from what I said? I'm just wondering because I'm a teacher. I'm always getting feedback. So, do you remember anything I said that resonated or made any sense or anything from the last
yeah.
few
No,
minutes
you
I was
said so.
talking?
So basically, you said do one good thing every day to try not to please others, but to please God, and make that a habit. And I think what I understood from that is like, I think my mom said this best to me as well. Where you have to do things regularly because that's just the way of the world works. Especially with namaz. That's the prime example. We have to say namaz every single day, 5 times a day, to get closer to God. And I think what's happened, especially here in the West, is that you get a lot from like the media, definitely social media, saying you shouldn't do things a certain way. You can break that cycle. You don't have to be a habitual person. You can break habits. So I think that's also affecting me as well. Um, but I
Tell
think
me what
one
you
thing I
mean. I
want
didn't
to also
understand that last. Again, you can actually you can. I mean, I didn't understand that last thing, but I don't want to distract from the question you wanted to ask me either. So I mean, if okay,
no,
it's up to
sorry.
you. If you
What
want,
did
so the thing
no? What didn't you
about
understand?
social media is telling you to change your habits in a certain way, but you're not sure if it works. What is social media's advice to you? And I'll tell you if I agree or not, and then we can
So
just jump into the.
basically,
Go on.
like sometimes they say, don't work 9 to 5.
Oh, like work
Marriage
100
isn't.
hours.
Yeah, yeah, those sort of things. Yeah,
No, follow the middle way and keep building up slowly because you'll just burn out. Okay. Um, I love the thing that Jordan Peterson. Do you know Jordan Peterson?
yep, yep,
Okay, I think he's got his real bad stuff. He's following the Zionists at the moment, but it doesn't mean he's wrong about lots of other things. So he says people don't set their bar low enough. That sounds really funny, but people set their bars to the bar too high, they never make it. But if you set the bar low, this is consistent with the Islamic teaching. You do something small, at least you do it every day. So have a plan, a thing you're going to do for the long term. So not just random small things, okay? A thing you're working toward, and do something, take one step every day. and don't worry about the result, sort of thing. The result will get there eventually. If you worry about it too much, you never do it in the first place. So that's the small thing I'll say about social media. Totally wrong. Don't do massive things. Do small things every day. What were you going to ask? Something else?
Oh yeah, so basically, um, what you're saying about build that connection with God. I think also one of the problems is that when I pray, I think because I've got so much on my mind, I think I am starting to get to that point where I am starting to become a bit more uh, attentive towards the prayer, but still there's a lot in my mind going on, and I don't think I'm building that sincere connection yet. But I do
Okay,
think I'm
cool.
building a connection.
Cool. So somehow, despite all my millions of weaknesses, God helps me, right? And there's a connection, even though my prayers are rubbish, really. Like a million problems in my prayers, right? Okay. But I just keep working on it. So what do? Just focus on one thing. Maybe the one thing, like Hazur is always the Khalifa, the Khalifa, the international leader of the Ahmadi Muslim community, is always giving advice about prayers. The latest one was do one such the one when you like there's for people who don't know, there's a point in the prayer when your head is on the ground and you ask for something, you can say in your own language, and he advised, for one thing, he said, pray for humanity that we're saved from World War III. Okay, so you go, right, so what's good about that is that you're actually praying for somebody else. Okay, you're not being selfish. You're not just asking for. You can ask for your own stuff as well. God Allah likes you to beg for stuff yourself, right? So
Correct.
something really small, maybe two things. Yeah, let's do two small things and do it for a week and see what happens. Okay, don't aim for big that your prayers are going to be amazing. Just aim for one such is that you're going to beg for something for yourself and a good thing, not like I want, but you can ask for a good wife. That's a good thing because that's going to protect you from lots of bad things. And Allah wants you to do that. And Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, said that half
So, yeah,
marriage is half of faith, right? In
faith. Yeah,
paraphrasing, right? Yeah. So that's a good thing. Ask for something regularly, or just ask for anything. Just beg for anything good, and beg for something good for humanity. I don't know. Maybe I don't know. Is that doable? Do you think one such stuff or
no,
and
no, I have been since Hazur said that I have been doing that.
fantastic. Just keep doing it. So don't be one of those people who just starts and then forgets, sort of thing, right? I might be. I don't want to give advice that I don't do. So maybe I forget these things. So do it for a week at least. Do you know what I mean? And then I think you will, if you listen to the reason why I mention that is because if the Khalifa is telling you and he's guided by God, that's going to be a good thing to do. Yeah, it's gonna,
Yeah, and also
good. Yeah, go on.
yeah, and also I've also started writing letters more. Well, starting from last week, I wrote a letter to Hazur. I said, Hazur, this is my first letter in a long series of letters that I feel like writing to you because I want to build my relationship with Khilafat and to God. So I am I think, like I said to you, I am on my way to doing those things to attain nearness to God. But obviously, some things are sort of in my mind that are sort of how would you say not keeping me focused.
Hmm? Yeah. Okay. What do you mean not keeping you focused? Because you're distracted by worldly pleasures, want to have sex, blah blah blah, all that kind of stuff.
No, not that. It's more like the marriage situation. There's things like the work problems, and there's also family problems as well.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Okay. Yeah. So again, because there are millions of problems in our lives, guess what? We do the minimum we can do and consistently, and see if that works. I mean, hopefully, we're going to have loads of these conversations. So, um, yeah, that's what I think. Just keep doing something small and consistently, and I think it will have a massive effect. I think it works for me, and as I say, my prayers are not amazing at all, but I try to keep doing a little bit each time. Like do at least let one of my rakats or something, one of my prostrations or something, be of reasonable focus. You know what I mean? And like
Yeah, true.
really passionate, really feeling, and not just random, but like really meaning it as well. You know. Um, I can only give advice as good as my level, so I can't say better than that. You know what I mean? I can't say I have perfect praise or something. And
No, no,
somehow it
that's
works for
fine.
me. It works for me, even though I'm like really rubbish in millions of ways. So that's one advice I'd give, I suppose. I mean, anything else? Do you want to talk about the
No,
marriage
that's fine.
thing?
Yeah, I think we got just a few minutes left, so yeah, I
Hmm.
think we can finish up on that. So the Rishta that I told you about last
So keep
time
it all
that
English. So
I
rishta means, what does it mean? It
the
means
proposal, proposal.
yes, that's it. Very good. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So the proposal that I told you about last time, I was scheduled to meet them, but then something turned up, so I still have to meet them. Yeah. Um, I did say to you that I was how would you say? I forgot about the previous Rishta, but I think the reason why she's coming into my mind is because I found her quite attractive, and the thing is that when we spoke, it seemed that we were on a similar page. And like I said to you regarding my job, because she said I work, what's it called? My hours are quite erratic. I feel
Hmm.
that if I didn't have the job I had right now, then maybe she would have said yes. So I think that's what's just like uh, well, I've got a lot of million things on my mind now.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
I'm just
So
being honest with you.
yeah, of course, the whole thing's supposed to be 100% honest with me.
Yeah.
So, and I'm trying not to think too hard to explain it. Like, there's an idea, there's a bunch of things I want to say. Okay, first of all, very quickly, nobody's really that hot. Okay, but what happens is that when we have something taken away from us, we like big it up too much. We idolize it too much and go, "Oh my god, it was so amazing. Oh, why was it taken away from me?" Right? And then when you have to talk to
Hmm.
her, it's just like it's basically it's just how materialism works. Okay, what is materialism? It's the chase of the mirage. I don't know if I've talked about this before. Have I talked about chasing the
No,
mirage?
no,
Okay, so there's a verse of the Holy Quran that says the people who disbelieve. So we're disbelievers in different amounts, right? Disbelievers in the actual technical term in the Quran is somebody who hides from the light of God, and we're all doing that to some extent, right? We're not really perfectly taking advantage of the beautiful light of God that really fulfills us, right? So the opposite of fulfillment is always being thirsty. And so God describes the life of a disbeliever, and we're all disbelievers to some extent, chasing a mirage. What is a mirage? It's an illusion in the distance. And when we get to the illusion, when we finally achieve that spot, the thing we thought would make us happy, it kind of goes, eh. You know what I mean? So that girl has suddenly become the mirage, the thing in the distance. Like, oh, if only I had it. She's so amazing. Blah blah blah. We don't go half. You know, like the stuff we want. We don't go, it's probably not that good. Doesn't matter. But the stuff we really want that we don't have, we go, we tell our stories, we tell ourselves stories about it. We go, oh, it would have been so amazing. She was the most amazing person. She would have changed my life. No, she wouldn't. She was an idiot. Like you described her to me. She was a perfect idiot. She was like you were so lucky not to have her. Okay, but the materialism in you, the materialist in you, the one who's making idols of other people, okay? And I'm not telling you off like this. This is like just trying to bring it back to reality, okay? In you
yeah,
is idolizing her when you know deep down she's full of crap. Okay. I mean, remember, she's the one who, like, she had all the red flags. Why she got her own property? Why is she, like, probably at a gym with a, what's it called? Multi-sex gym and blah, blah, blah. Like 100 and she's not a very nice person. Like, she just because you didn't message her for a day, see ya. I mean, this is the worst person in the world. And you're idolizing her, but that's normal. What you're doing is normal. Okay, and the only way you can overcome this is a stronger relationship with God. Is a short answer. Um, More self-value because you're not valuing yourself right now. The only reason why this is affecting you is because you don't feel valuable in yourself, and you feel if you only had X, Y, and hot girl, whatever her name is, right? Then you'll feel value. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, and I think also it's a case of I'm not feeling very valued at work as well. Yeah, so I think that's also putting me
Yeah.
down a lot.
Okay. So I always like to have a really short solution because I don't want you to wait 10 days and then you start feeling valuable. Okay. So most people don't feel valuable. Even the rich guy I was talking to 2 days ago, so many people I talk about, most people don't really feel valuable. Okay. But that's because they're not necessary. And even that guy was nice. You're a nice guy as well. You got to be nicer. Okay. What do I mean by that? It's like when you're lifting weights, if you're lifting light weights and you got big biceps, some flies just died there. Anyway, then you're not doing the exercise that your soul requires of you. You're not being nice enough according to your capacity. Does that make any sense? And when you're nice,
Sort of,
you
sort
want to.
of. So basically, you're
Okay,
saying
go on. Yeah, go on. Go on.
basically you're basically not just reaching your full potential. Is that what you mean?
Not even near your full potential. Okay. And I'm not saying lift the maximum spiritual weights possible. That's a bad thing. Don't do that
Yeah.
because you burn yourself out. I'm saying push harder. Okay. And then, like, okay. Yeah. So if you can have a why, a theoretical why. I told this is kind of going right back to the beginning, right? But if you're not doing anything about it, then it's not a real why. It's just a load of crap that you're telling yourself. I don't know if that makes any sense. So you have to push hard in that direction of a good thing, a little bit hard and consistently. Actually, the consistency is harder than doing something really big, doing it every day. So I wish I could make it sound more exciting because I feel like maybe it's not sounding exciting, like it's going to bang, it's going to solve your problems. And it's all very subtle. Um, but yes, you just be consistent. Okay, I'll say one more way, right? Maybe who you are is not what you do once in a blue moon. Who you are is what you do every day. Okay. And you cannot lie to your soul. You cannot lie to yourself. Okay. So if you do something every day and it's a good thing and nobody knows about it, you will know who you are and that you stand for something and nobody will be able to knock that. But all the fake people, which is most people, they get knocked with everything. That's all I'll say for now for about that. I don't go and tell me something, your thoughts or feelings.
Yeah. So what you just said right now, I think you said it to me before. So basically, I need to do more good things. So basically, I have more self-value, so that I'm harder to knock. Basically, is what you
Yes.
said.
And maybe you're thinking, what are those things practically, so you can do it for before the next show that or the next chat we have. Maybe.
Yeah, I'm thinking. Yeah. But
So
I will give one
go
example
on,
one
go
example
on.
that I did do one good thing.
Yeah.
I don't know if I should say it or if you want me to say it or if I'm sounding as if I'm
Whatever
bragging.
you
I don't know
feel
if you
like.
want me to
Whatever you
tell it.
feel like. Whatever you feel like it. Don't worry
So
about
yeah,
bragging. Just tell me. Yeah.
so basically where I live, my corner shop, there's a homeless guy who's been sitting outside there for quite a while. And I have been passing him, but this few days ago I gave him some money. Um, and I actually feel like now that I've given him money, I want him to actually get somewhere in his life. So I'm actually thinking about maybe talking to him and getting him like some accommodation somewhere or something.
Okay. I'm just going to sound really mean. Don't do it. Okay. So why? Okay. So I used to sit with homeless people or whatever, right? First of all, don't give them money, give them food. That's what the experts say.
Uh,
The second thing is the reason why don't give them accommodation, you're going to burn yourself out. That's a massive undertaking. That's a massive undertaking. What you do better than that is do something small every day. Sounds terrible. I say lots of things that people hate all the time, right? So I don't care about that. Okay, but practically, you're going to burn yourself out. How are you going to get this guy accommodation? It's not going to happen. Probably not going to happen, right? Sounds really mean. People probably just hate me for this, right? But much better than that, and the person will value this. Okay, is you say, "Hey, how are you doing?" and listen to him for a little bit. When you say "How are you doing," most people don't care what you're saying. They don't. When you say "How are you doing," right? And if I start telling you, "Oh, I feel this," like the British people are like, "Why are you telling? I didn't really mean how you doing." That's just like a phrase that people say, right? But if you say it to that guy and you listen to the guy, he will feel valued for the first time ever. Do you know what I mean? Most people just walk past him as if he's trash. So you
Yeah,
talk to
I
him
understand that.
every day a little bit, and you can work towards the bigger goal. Say, like, would you like accommodation? By the way, I talk to lots of homeless people. Not all of them want accommodation. Sounds a bit crazy, but because, like, for example, there's a lot of people taking drugs in these accommodations and stuff like that, right? Whatever. There's a lot of stories behind it. So rather than having big dreams about him, in fact, better way to help him is, I'm not going to make this much longer, or whoever it is, right? Is talk to him, listen to him, understand his problems, and then try to solve his problems rather than you have an idea of what his problems are and you're trying to solve it. Do you know what I mean? You might be solving the wrong problem, even though you might think it is obvious, but you'd be surprised. People don't necessarily want accommodation. But yeah. Any thoughts?
No, that's that's a good way to go about it. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
Cool. Anyway, I'll be praying for you. Pray for yourself. Um,
Jazakallah.
be consistent. Try to be consistent. So next time we talk. So last time the thing I was saying was, the target was let's get you married. So you're waiting. You're still doing the marriage thing, which is great. Keep working on ignoring red flags, girl. Who's you're very lucky. Okay, but if you're not spiritual enough, you deserve her the worst thing that'll ever happen to your life, and you'll live a nightmare. You'll probably have a kid with her, maybe, and she'll run away and take away all your money and all that kind of stuff, right? So you're very lucky, but you're not, unless you're spiritual, you're not able to go towards the good things. I don't know. I probably said this last time. Good men are for good women. It's in the Quran, and bad men are for bad women. If you're not spiritual, you deserve red flag girl. You know what you know what I mean by red flag girl, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, she's red flag girl. Millions of red flags. So anyway, that was a good conversation as always.
Okay then.
I've got to, pray for yourself that some of this. I'll pray that some of this conversation was useful to you and somebody else. Hopefully, all right. Appreciate your time.
Yeah, inshallah.
Allah bless
Jazakallah.
you for doing this in public so other people can benefit. I'm sure you'll get some blessings and Allah will solve something in your life because of this. All right, okay. Assalamu alaikum.
Jazakallah. Assalamu alaikum. Wa alaikum
Wa
salam.
alaikum.